All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our webinar. So we've been doing them every other couple weeks here, but we took a little bit of break for spring break. I hope everybody had a great spring break, whether you stayed at home, got some work done, or just took a little bit of me time during your spring break. Thank you again for joining us. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Matt Garcia. I am the co-owner of Maker Maven, along with my wife, Jamie, who is not able to join us today. But we also have Brianna Kua with us. She's going to be here. You'll probably see her pop up in the chat a few times. If you ever engage with us on social media, if you see our great STEM challenges that we put, or you subscribe to our newsletter, that is 100% Bri, and we can't thank her enough for everything she does for us. So thank you for being here with us as well today, Bri. All right, so let's go ahead and just get started with a few little easy housekeeping rules. So I know there's a few of you that have joined us already for some of these webinars. Rules are the same. Be engaged. We encourage you to be highly engaged in the chat using the Q&A functions. So if you have anything cool that you want to share, any quick questions that we might be able to answer on the spot or directly in the chat, don't be shy. Put everything in the chat. If you have some more kind of thought out questions, maybe for specific integrations with products, lesson plans, pricing questions, or anything like that, just pop them into the little Q&A section that I believe it's on the bottom of your screen. I think Mac, it'll be on the top of your screen. Again, don't be shy. We want you to be highly engaged throughout this entire presentation. And also, if you are active on social media, make sure that you are engaged on social media as well. Live tweet, post screenshots, talk about everything you're learning on this webinar as well. Let everybody know what they're missing by not being on here with us. And also, we are going to be doing an awesome giveaway today for a ChampBot kit as well. So, and the way to enter is through social media. So if you want a chance to win, make sure you tag both Maker Maven and UBTECH Education in your social media posts. And that's either Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, any of the three, you will get a chance to win. So our tag there is @Maker_Maven. So be sure that you enter for your chance to win. All right, so now that everybody knows how to win, what we're giving away, might get your hands on something that you haven't had a chance to mess with before. So again, @Maker_Maven and @UBTECH_EDU. So without further ado, I want to introduce our special guests for today. So we have Nick Vaghasiya, National Director of Education and Partnerships with UBTECH Education. And we also have Rusty Nye, the Senior Manager of Professional Services. So they're going to show us a lot of great things that you can do with these UBTECH kits, how to integrate from the beginning, our very beginning students in coding and robotics, all the way from the classroom to careers. So it's kind of a great pathway, especially if you are CTE heavy on your campus or in your district. So we'll go ahead and get started. That's enough from me. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to Nick and Rusty. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you, Matt and Brianna and Jamie for hosting us today. We're really excited about telling you guys more about UBTECH and showing you a little bit of our product and answering questions.
Okay, great.
And I think
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Nick. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you guys can have some slides, but sorry to talk over there, Nick.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to start off and show you guys a little video about UBTECH and you know, have that as our intro into our presentation, and then we'll get a little more detailed into our product offerings and talk a little bit more about the curriculum, as well as how we tie our solutions into real world deliverables and transition students into career fields that utilize a lot of the STEM methodologies and robotic builds that we have in our products.
Great. Oops.
Perfect. So Rusty, thank you for sharing that video. That was just a quick blurb about how our GMU series ties into real world events and how we're utilizing our robotics to expose students to career fields in those industries. Something to talk a little bit about UBTECH education today is that we were founded in 2012. We do focus on humanoid technology, research and development, as well as in current spaces like manufacturing and automation, as well as large service sector enterprise level areas where we are working with hotels and airports and other areas where essentially you're replacing humans in doing efficient functionalities through Cruiser. In the middle, you'll see our newest enterprise solution, which is a UVC robot used to disinfect 99% of pathogens in schools and other enterprise verticals. And then on the right side, you'll see our humanoid technology through Yanshi, which is a programmable open source robot. So to go into depth a little bit about the education division, UBTECH Education is a division of UBTECH Robotics, our global brand. And our primary resource is preparing all learners for the future of work, whether it's through innovation, technology, design, engineering, and even tying that into our core subject areas for today's learners, right? And developing and giving them the opportunity to have a high quality STEM product that allows them to grow into the 21st century skills and utilize their computational literacy skills. And what you'll see here today is our U-Kits. This is one of our most popular classroom solutions. You'll also see it behind Matt in his backdrop. You'll have the beginner, intermediate, and advanced U-Kits. These are really an all-inclusive solution for students and educators. They do come with all the parts and pieces. They come with the sorting trays, the cases that are stackable. They come with all the curriculum that's going to be required for teachers to utilize in teacher implementation guides. They're going to have teacher guides as well. And then they're going to have student worksheets that compile together with the free education app or web browser that this will work on. As you see in this product, one of the philosophies that UBTECH has is that we want students to progress in their learning and their skills. So as students progress, so do the challenges and the kits, right? We're not changing the product on them, but we are adding new components, features, and things for students to utilize while they're developing their STEM skills. And as we dive deeper into each one of those U-Kits, I'll tell you a little bit about the beginner kit. It is an entry-level U-Kit. It does come with over 300 parts and pieces. And what's unique about this is along with the parts and pieces, you get 4 servo motors that students can program and utilize in the pre-built models. This U-Kit particularly has 13 pre-built models. Each one of the pre-built models also comes with pre-descriptive code so that for students that are visual learners, this is going to be a very helpful tool while they're utilizing the kits. It essentially allows you to start coding immediately and utilizing the robots. Our next U-Kit that we have here today is our intermediate U-Kit. This one is a transitional U-Kit between the beginner and the advanced. It does have over 500 parts and pieces that are included in there. It looks exactly the same like the beginner, just the color's different, comes with a sorting tray, carrying case. But what we've also included in here is 15 pre-built models. If you take a look at the images on either corner of this slide, you'll notice that these robotic builds are a little bit more complex than the ones that you saw in the beginner. That is something that we highly take into consideration, which is our scaffolded approach, not only to engineering and design and building, but also to the curriculum, as the curriculum that goes with these kits aligns to the U-Kit for that matter. And our final U-Kit that we have here for the classroom solution is our U-Kit Advanced. This U-Kit is something that I think is very extensive. It comes with a ton to do for educators as well as students. For example, over 900 parts and pieces in this U-Kit, but the look and feel of the case and the sorting tray is exactly the same. There are some key attributes to this. And to take a step back, going from the beginner to the intermediate, we are introducing sensor technology. And then in the advanced U-Kit, we take the sensor technology and also integrate it with a circuitry program. So in this kit, over 900 pieces, you'll have 16 servo motors. You'll have a higher grade sensor kit that's built in that also includes ultrasonic sensors as well as infrared and gray sensors. And then you'll have a circuitry program with circuitry lessons included in here. This model will allow students to build up to 38 robotic builds, and it does come with a different platform for learning. And this next slide actually talks about that. So the UKIT Beginner and the UKIT Intermediate both work on a free educational app called UKIT EDU. It is downloadable, accessible on iOS, Android, and Chromebook. So we do cover the full thread of what most schools are using today as far as student technology in the classroom. And what's unique about the app is it has core functionalities. You know, every product in today's market comes with an app. But what does that app do to create a meaningful purpose for students, right? And in our app, we solve two problems. One, we cater to all learners, right? So we have visual learning ability through our app, which allows students to not only see a code right off the bat, but they can actually manipulate the code, add to it, edit it, change the code for immediate response to the robotic builds. We also have a tool in our app that is a key differentiator in our solution. We no longer show images of step-by-step guidance, but we allow to have it very interactive with students' abilities to have 3D 360-degree rotational movement. What this does for a student is it allows for increased accuracy in a robotic build, and it allows them to spend more time learning code and how to see the code. Also in our app, we have two languages, right? We've got block-based coding, which is convertible into line text coding in Python. So it does take a progressional step for students that are starters and then getting more advanced into coding. And then the last key feature in our app that I do like to mention is talking a little bit about pose, record, and play, something that is a new feature in our technology where students can physically manipulate the movement of a servo on a robot using their fingers. And then that movement is recorded into block technology and inserted into code. On the right side of the screen, you'll see the UKIT, you'll see UCode. And something you'll hear me say frequently is do UCode, right? And the cool thing about this application is a web-based software that students will utilize either on PCs, on Windows, or on Windows PC, on MacBooks or Chromebooks. There is a 3D simulator built in here so that you can virtually build, program, and see your robot in action all through your web browser with no hardware required if you're learning in a remote environment. It does have AI integration built into it, and it is pretty extensive because you can code simultaneously in a split screen with block-based coding on one side and C++ on the other side. And then a key component to our solution, which is the video that you saw earlier on, talks about our Makerspace solution. Our Makerspace solution, you'll see 5 themed robotic builds here. You'll see a Unibot, a Unicorn bot, a Firebot, an Astrobot, an Overdrive bot, and a Champ bot. These 5 themed robotic builds make up our Makerspace solution, which is our Maker Kit. And it has a total of 10 robotic builds. It comes with over 2,300 pieces, 16 servo motors, 5 controllers. So it is pretty extensive. And all the parts and pieces are compatible, right? So you can take them and use them in other robotic builds as you get more creative. This kit also comes with 20 Spark Starter Challenge cards, which are really unique and allow students to be creative and innovative in their maker spaces. I'm going to pass over the microphone to my colleague Rusty to talk a little bit more about our integrated STEM curriculum and go from there.
And I'm muted, so no, I'm not muted. So thanks, Nick, for the introduction to our UKIT. So I'm going to transition the conversation a little bit and move directly into our integrated STEM curriculum. So for this, to give you a high-level overview, we did develop 10 total NGSS aligned units supplementing our UKITs. So we have 2 total UKITs for, we have 2, we have 2 units, we have 3 units specifically for the UKIT beginner, 4 units for the UKIT intermediate, and 3 more units for UKIT advanced. All of these are directly aligned to core science standards through NGS standards. We have also developed a full K-12 AI Foundations Unplugged solution, which is a new endeavor. This is all unplugged, meaning this is not directly aligned and supplemented with our robotic kits, but it's a way to bring foundational AI concepts into K-12 classrooms. In addition, we also feature a full NGSS curriculum with 2 units that are grade banded for the GMU Champot. And as Nick mentioned, all of our curriculum units feature specific implementation guides, which we created in response to the changing educational environment due to COVID scenarios. So when we talk about integrated STEM, what are we really focusing on? So there are a few pillars for our curriculum that are unique and very important to how we've scaffolded and developed this content. So one, all of our curriculum is intended to address core science concepts. So this is important because we want our curriculum to not only live in a computer science or STEM classroom, but we want the ability for science educators to bring our curriculum directly into a science classroom to help supplement some core science learning. In addition, we also directly address cross-cutting concepts in science and engineering principles as identified through NGSS. These, connect back to cause and effect, patterns, and connections to the engineering design process. In addition, we do directly acknowledge social emotional learning, such goals as leadership and working together throughout the entire curriculum. And finally, the last pillar that is a direct theme throughout our content is we really strive to make these real world connections. So students are not just building robotics or coding for the sake of building robotics or coding, but they can see these actual connections out in the world. Our curriculum is all scaffolded utilizing the engineering design process. This is important to note because we strongly encourage students throughout all of the units and all of our curriculum to really participate in this design cycle. So students are really working through frustrations and failing upward. For the educator, we have developed all of our content also in the 5E lesson plan structure. So most educators are probably pretty familiar with this structure, but this is a great way for educators to dive into content, know exactly the milestones that the students should be gaining and where they can plug in particular aspects. So I'm going to transition a little bit and give you a couple examples from 2 of our curriculum units. So I'm going to touch on an example from our UKIT beginner curriculum unit guided or featuring our dinosaur robot on the left side of the screen, and then also feature a snapshot of one of our intermediate lessons units featuring our trolley robot. So all of our units for UKIT and Champot are featured around a design and iterative approach to one of the robots they can find within the app or the browser-based software. So for the curriculum unit, for the dinosaur robot entitled A Robot for Rescue. So students here are given the driving question of finding and discovering which robot design best meets the criteria and constraints of a rescue robot. The way that we blend this into these core science concepts is we expose students to concepts of geology and biomechanics as they're building and redesigning this robot to render aid during a volcanic natural disaster. So I know that might seem like a lot. So how do we actually, mash all that up together? So first, we introduce a real world scenario of what a volcanic natural disaster could look like. And to do that, we point directly to something that students, most of our students are probably born when this happened. In 2018, there was a large explosion, an eruption on the island of Hawaii, the volcano Kilauea. So we paint a very realistic, touchable approach and scenario for the students. From there, we have the students start analyzing the geographic regions and the changes caused by such an explosion, or eruption. They generate different sketches, they analyze different scenarios, and they're thinking about how this would affect their robotic design. From there, the students start thinking about how robotic structures would need to be designed, to be redesigned and reiterated upon in order to operate in such an environment. So this is where we start bringing in other elements that are also grade related and also core science related of biomechanics. So the students in the image you'll see on the left is kind of a funnier images from one of our worksheets where the students actually act out the movements of a quadruped animal, trying to track the specific elements that happen in terms of those mechanics. They then apply that to real world engineering scenarios by such robotics. This is actually one of the quadruped dog-like robots developed from the US Marine Corps. And then they apply this learning and this real world connection back to their design, the dinosaur robot that they developed at the beginning of the lesson. So I'm going to kind of transition, give you just one more short example, looking at how we try to tie in these curriculum units back to core science standards as well as real world applications. For another unit, a robot for tight spaces featuring our trolley robot from the UKIT Intermediate. Here, students explore how robots can be used to help explore industrial settings as they build this robot and redesign this robot to navigate through changing different environments. Here, the driving question that students will be able to successfully answer by the end of this unit is, what is the best robot design for navigating through a pipe? Yes, that is a very open-ended question that can be answered through a lot of different lenses based on their discovery. So first, we start analyzing environments. We make that connection back to real-world applications, real-world careers of engineers trying to solve this problem, and start looking, as simply as it sounds, at different pipes. We start providing the connection to actual engineers that are doing this exact work and the constraints that they have to face when designing different types of robotics to fit in said pipes. From there, the students start analyzing and looking at the function and the materials and the structure of the robot that they're working with. So we try to make that connection from an engineer working in the field, looking at a pipe and having to design a robot that has to fit through this exact pipe, to looking at the robot that they've built and analyzing that function, those materials that they're working with. How can they change their specific robot to meet these changing constraints that we have just set upon the students? And throughout the curriculum, we will change those constraints. So the students have to continually analyze, continually change their objectives of developing their robotic strategy to solve the problem. So also, in terms of equipping those students with future job skills and trying to bridge that gap in between engineers working in the field and students in the classroom working with classroom robotics, we have developed and done quite a bit of research trying to understand how we can fold into some of those top 10 job skills that need to be developed for students moving into career fields. To help highlight those different learning aspects, we have aligned quite a bit of our content to those top 10 job skills of 2025 as addressed to the World Economic Forum. I have highlighted just a couple just to snapshot here, but for identifying and trying to trying to address those analytical thinking and innovation skills. Throughout all of our units, students help solve complex problems that are directly connected to these real world life experiences. We really try to bridge that gap to tangible concepts. So we don't want this to live, in the cloud and not be something they can directly relate to. We hope that most students haven't, experience a volcanic eruption too close, but that is something that they can, easily look up, and it's something that is currently happening, something that they can, relate to on a real human basis. We also try to address quite dramatically throughout all of our units these ideas of leadership and social influence. So I did mention earlier that we also address these SEL, social emotional learning aspects. And throughout all of our units, we have a strong connection to students working collaboratively. Our kits are designed, the product itself is designed for students to work together. So they help collaboratively solve problems. So a lot of these require practice and effective communication to help solve these different ideas. In addition, another bullet point that really speaks to our curriculum is this idea of technology use, monitoring, and control. Of course, being that we develop robotic solutions, kids get hands-on direct use of technology. But even more so than that, we use our technology for students to create iterative design structures. So meaning that students use this sort of technology as a method for them to conduct experiments and start finding solutions. And lastly, in terms of resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility, this points directly back to our structure of working with engineering design tools. So assembling, disassembling different robotics. Throughout all of the process of students working with these tools, they engage in design thinking. They directly practice redesigning structures. And throughout our curriculum units, there are portions where the objectives change and the students have to be flexible and redesign their structure to meet these changing objectives. So great. So lastly, I want to kind of leave it with, I have a few more slides, which I want to show a couple of very quick videos that make these real world connections to our robotic builds. So as Nick mentioned, we have a whole catalog within our software of robotic builds that the students can look at. We have 13 for the UKIT Intermediate, 15 for the UKIT, 13 for the UKIT Beginner, 15 for the UKIT Intermediate, and we have 38 pre-built, pre-designed models within our software for students to work from. All of these models were directly inspired and designed by looking at real-world applications, products, and solutions to these engineering design problems. We really intend and we strive to make our robotics personalized. So we want students, again, to have that direct connection to what they're doing in the real world. And so let's go ahead and look at a couple of different scenarios. So looking at mechanical arms, and let me lower the volume on these a little bit. Whoops, and I'm sorry. And this is featuring, as you can see, there's an IR sensor activating. You have 3 servos in that build, and that is for the UKIT. And this one is featured within the UKIT Advanced. And this is actually inspired by creating a radar detection robot. So this actually is utilizing, as you can see, you have 1 servo connected to our Arduino compatible microcontroller, and it's utilizing an ultrasonic sensor to give out a reading in a very similar aspect to a radar detection robot, or device, I should say. We also try to utilize greener engineering technology for some of our inspiration. This is an example of utilizing wind turbines specifically for our robotics as a motivator. So this robot is specifically geared and featured in the UKIT beginner. However, we actually have very similar builds, as well as a virtual greenhouse build for our UKIT advanced. And then we also, we're not all stuffy engineers here. We also want to make it a lot of fun. So we even have different musical instruments that students can build and be inspired by. This is an example of our bass guitar utilizing our UKIT Advanced, utilizing the ultrasonic sensor that can detect different distances and make an equation. We can write a program that when it detects distances from certain parameters, it will play a specific note. That's a fun one. And we also engage and try to connect to smart home technology. This is an example of a doorbell robot. You'll see utilizing for the UKIT Advanced, utilizing 2 servo motors, a touch sensor acting as your doorbell button, which also activates one of our really fun LED eyes, which give it all of our robots a really nice personality. And then lastly, who doesn't like to have a party? So this one is our strobe light robot, which is inspired by some of these, disco lights. This one is directly aligned to our UKIT Intermediate, and you'll see features 2 servo motors and a flashing RGB LED. Okay, great. So great. So that takes me to the end of my my spiel. So I know myself and Nick and Matt were here if we want to answer any questions. But thanks again, guys, for listening to our conversation. It's really fun to share a lot of the work that we've been creating.
Yeah, so we got quite a few good questions in early. I answered a few, hopefully correctly in the chat. So if anybody else has questions, now's your time. Go ahead and pop them in the chat. But I'm going to go ahead and get started with what we have here. So Susan is asking, since it uses block coding, can her kinders do it? They already do block coding with Dash from Wonder Workshop. So she wants to know, are the GMO robots and the UKITs compatible with her younger students in kindergarten?
Yeah. Oh, Nick, feel free. You can take it.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it depends on their level of comfort with block-based coding, right? Our coding is very similar to Dash and Dot and what you can do with Wonder Workshop. The difference in our app technology is that students get to build their remote under the control device in our platform, in the UKIT app, as well as the basic functionalities. So if they're familiar with Dash and Dot and utilizing the coding that comes with the blocks, they can certainly do that with UBTECH's beginner. I would probably say start them off with the beginner UKIT. And what you'll see is in the AI library of the app, we have sample code for each one of the 13 robotic builds. So once your students are building the robots, they'll already have what the block code structure looks like for a basic movement. And then they can take that and alter it and change it and edit it. And for example, in the fan, they can make it move faster or slower. And it's really just point and click, right? So I would say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. All right, so got a question from, and I am so bad with names, I hope I do this justice. Anurag. All right, so where do you see UKITs being used in schools? What are value propositions for the school administrators?
I'll take that one. I love questions and they come up all the time when we're doing presentations. The value proposition behind UKITs is offering an all-inclusive solution to educators to provide to their students. the students get worksheets in groups of 2, 3, and 4, depending on how you're doing your small group participation. Students develop a lot of different skill sets. So number one, we're talking not just about STEM, right? Which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But UBTECH is incorporating this into all core subject areas like social studies, literacy, mathematics, life sciences, physical sciences. We've also have a full curriculum that talks about artificial intelligence starting at kindergarten through 12th grade, which is something you can reach out to Matthew for more information about. But what we do for administrators is give them a peace of mind because, during the pandemic, we had to really look at our solution and see how we can adjust and make it so that our hands-on solution is also in a remote learning environment, a hybrid learning platform, on-site or face-to-face, right? So we have created teacher implementation guides. These are separate than the teacher guides that come with our solution that talks about our curriculum. So across the board, we're not only just touching students, we're touching educators, and we're giving administrators a peace of mind because they know this solution is motivational, impactful, and it gives everybody in the school building a chance to get really functional with our coding and robotics tools.
Mhm.
Awesome. All right, so let's see what else I have here. All right. Litzy says the dragon one looks epic. Agreed. So awesome. All right, another one from Anurag. How do you differentiate from Lego Mindstorm or Wheat?
Perfect. Yep, I can help with this one. So we have some core differentiators in our solution, though we do look very similar to our friends. One is we are a real robotics company globally. Okay, we're focused in automation and large manufacturing plants. So what we are doing also in the enterprise industry is not only having service sector robots, but also security bots. And a lot of our curriculum that Rusty talked about today, first of all, the key differentiator is we do have NGSS aligned curriculum to our solution. That's number one. We also have integrated STEM curriculum. Number three, our app technology is different. We have 3D 360-degree step-by-step robotic builds for every single one of the models, the 13 in the beginner, 15 in the intermediate, and 38 in the advanced. We also have a pose, record, and play functionality, which takes it a step lower than your actual physical remote control drive, right? If you were taking away the construct, engineering, and design feature of a robot, you already have something ready to go and you have to move it from point A to B. We already do that with our functionality with PRP. And I will actually show you a sample because I do have a fan here. And if you take this fan and you rotate that servo movement manually, that movement is recorded into block-based coding. Essentially what we're calling it is reverse coding. We're the only ones in the market that have it right now. So our app is used very differently than the other products that were mentioned. Not only is that a key differentiator for us, we have a scaffolded approach. So no matter what level you're at, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, we're not going to change the product on you, but we are going to allow you to grow with the product by increasing the challenges that come with it. And those are some of our core key differentiators from our competitors.
Awesome. All right, and since you mentioned the app, Maria has a question. Is there an offline option for the software?
Yes, so I will talk about that as well. In our UKITs, one of the things that you're going to have internet access to is only to download the app, right? Once you download the app for the intermediate and the beginner UKITs, everything is connected through Bluetooth technology. So you don't have to have internet access while the students are using the app. Rusty, I'll defer to you on UCode and what your suggestion there would be.
So with UCode, it's currently a browser-based software environment. So it does require access to the internet. However, to transition to line coding, you can also connect it specifically with the Arduino IDE. So it is Arduino compatible for UKIT Advanced. So all of the blocks and the codes that you build within UCode, the browser-based environment, can be exported into Arduino compatible language, very similar to C++. which you can upload offline. So I know that's a bit of a step process, but the reason for UCode largely being a browser-based environment is because we have a lot of different technology happening within UCode. The advantage of it being online is we have the ability to have virtual robotics, so they can actually code virtual robots, very similar in look and feel to the 3D build environments. We also have integrated AI blocks within that software, which directly connect to internet resources. So we have the ability to utilize background separation. So similar how you can see my background is blurry. That uses an AI algorithm, which we have embedded and created within our online solution, as well as a whole other catalog of other AI integrated blocks.
Awesome. So I've got 2 questions from Fausta, and I wish I was able to help with her questions, but looks like Fausta says, in Italy, where is it possible to find this kind of robot? Do you have a site to buy the products? What their schools want to introduce this learning approach? And I would love to say come to Maker Maven, but we are a US reseller. So I will hand that over to Nick and Rusty. How can you help our Italian friends?
Definitely. If you share your contact information with Matt at Maker Maven and he forwards that over to us, then what we'll do is pass that over to our international team, and they'll be able to service you. We are an international global company, and we do have different teams in different continents that utilize our resources and provide them to different countries.
All right, and I am typing. Can't figure out which word I'm trying to say. So I'm putting my email address in the chat for everybody. So if anybody wants to contact me directly, if you have any questions that pop up after this webinar, drop me a line. I'll do my best. And if I can't answer, I got Nick and Rusty on speed dial. So we'll get those questions answered for you. Okay, so there's my information. Go ahead. Did you have something, Nick?
No, I had jotted down some questions as well. And you know, I think we answered all of them, Matthew. If there's any other, like Matthew said, if there's any additional questions that anyone has, please feel free to reach out, and we'll make sure that we appropriately get the responses to you guys.
Okay, perfect. All right. So if nobody else has any questions, if you do, there's still time to pop it in the chat. But we do have a winner for our Chantbot giveaway today. All right. So, and I'm just happens to be a returning customer that we've had here on plenty of our webinars. So Susan Spiegelmeyer, so bad with names. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. Susan, congratulations. You have won our Chantbot giveaway. So just shoot me an email at the address I typed into the chat a second ago and send me your contact information. We'll pass that off to Nick and we will get your prize sent to you as soon as possible. So congratulations, Susan, and thank you for always returning to our webinars. You are bound to win one sooner or later, so persistence is key.
Well, Matthew, if there isn't any other questions, we would like to thank everybody for their time and spending their afternoon with us and learning a little bit more about UBTECH. We're excited about our partnership with Maker Maven and able to assist you guys with any questions that you have in the future.
Perfect. Yep, I think that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and so again, thank you so much, Nick and Rusty. I appreciate both of you taking the time out of your day, actually out of your week to work on this with me and to join us and to share all of this wonderful knowledge with our educators that are so gracious to lend us some of their time to continue these webinars. So we love to have them come in and learn just as much as they love to pass this knowledge on to their students. So thank you both very much for joining us today.
Great.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Have a great one.
All right. So as you saw, we had Nick and Rusty here. They threw a lot at us today for what you can do with UBTECH education. There's still a lot more they could have added. This was just one small piece of very simple and easy ways to integrate this technology from the classroom truly all the way to careers. So starting from our kinder students to our seniors in high school and beyond into the working world. So there's three key components that I wanted to touch on again after their main presentation. So the first one is integrated STEM. UBTECH's curriculum integrates and exposes students to multiple subject matters and concepts through robotics, making robotics and coding applicable to any student in any environment. All right, number two, vertical alignment. So by building problem-solving confidence and guiding students through scaled, grade applicable content, students have the ability to use UBTECH hardware, software, and curriculum throughout their educational career. And number three, real-world applications. As a leader in robotics and AI, UBTECH creates solutions that provide a pathway for students to excel in STEM careers. And as we all know, that's where careers are headed. Even our most basic jobs that, I started in a grocery store, spent many years as a cashier. A lot of that's being automated. So if our students can jump ahead of that curve and they can be the people coding and creating these robotics, they will always have a future job lined up. So there's a few ways to purchase from us. So here's some pricing on the U-Kits and the GMU robots. So all of the U-Kits are made for students in groups of 3 to 4. They can be scaled up. Obviously, if you are able to, 1-to-1 is always going to work best with your students. We don't all have that luxury. So they are definitely made for your students to work in groups. So that's a good way to spread these materials around for your students. And the GMU robots are fantastic. You can do smaller or great things with these robots, whether it's in a maker space, a STEM lab, or another STEM type of class or group that's in a rotation. These are great for short time frame builds and adding in those coding and robotics components. And if you're new to us, again, thank you for joining. You can always contact us at our website at makermaven.net. You can email me for anything, quotes, questions, or if you just want to chat. I gave you my personal email earlier, or if you just truly want a quote or some pricing guidance, you can email our orders line at orders@makermaven.net, or you can call us Monday through Friday, I believe 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time at 877-MAKER-75, which is 877-625-3775. And again, thank you everybody for joining us today. Don't forget to sign up for our future webinars. I do not have a link for the next webinar handy at this point, but please go to our website and check it out. It's going to be with MakeDo. And if you're not familiar with MakeDo, they are great tools that you can use to use recycled cardboard. So everybody, especially during the pandemic, has millions of Amazon boxes laying around. Well, let's put those boxes to use. So join us for our next webinar on April 15th, same time at 4 p.m. Central, to see how we can use all that reclaimed cardboard to build and create some great things for our students. Don't forget to follow us on our social medias, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also check out our YouTube channel. It's where we have all of our webinars posted. So if you want to pass this webinar on to somebody that wasn't able to make the live event, guide them to our YouTube channel or to our website. We're going to have the recordings for all of these webinars for you for as long as we can keep them up there. And as far as I know, YouTube is not kicking us off anytime soon. So again, thank you everybody. I appreciate your time in joining us today.